Yeah.
and location. So again, we'll get started in about a minute. So folks,
Ready?
and feel free to keep yourself muted if you're not speaking. Thank you. There will be a chance to speak also throughout the presentation, throughout our time together. Thank you for starting to introduce yourself. I see we have somebody joining us from Miracosta down in Oceanside. Great, folks from LA. I hope the rains are kind of calming down in LA. Heard that was a lot. Again, as folks are getting settled, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. Name, campus organization, location, just so we can see who's in the room with us today. Welcome all to folks coming in. Great. Okay, great. So we have some folks from, let me, it's going faster now. Huntington Beach, Escondido. Right, somebody's attending grad school in the fall. Welcome. Okay, College of the Canyons. Thank you, folks. Feel free to keep introducing yourself as you're coming in. We're going to get started. Hopefully everyone's in the right place, but welcome to our Promising Practice Roundtable. Today, we're going to be talking exclusively about the California Dream Act and how to help turn those college dreams for our students right into funded realities. And my name's Madeline Villanueva, she, her pronouns. I lead our higher education program here at Immigrants Rising and will be co-facilitating this space with my colleague Ugo, who I'll give a quick chance to introduce himself also.
Hello, folks. Welcome. Good morning, everyone. My name is Hugo Lopez Munoz, and I'm a Hemisphere Opportunity Program Coordinator here with Immigrants Rising. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you all. And yeah, as you're coming in, please continue to introduce yourself in the chat so we get a sense of who's in the room. It seems like we have a lot of representation from across California and even from the different systems, right? Like K through 12, adult school, CSU, community colleges. So welcome all. This is going to be our last Promising Practice Roundtable of the semester of the year, basically. We're going to be picking it back up again in the fall. I'm sorry, in the spring. I'm getting myself all mixed up. So there will be a new schedule for that to sign up for actually in our webpage coming next month, but really encourage folks to kind of check out all our different roundtables by going to that same webpage, kind of seeing all our different materials and recordings. And then there's even a space to actually share your own promising practice through a survey if you'd like to be featured as a panelist in one of these sessions in the future. And so, again, we are going to be speaking all about the California Dream Act today, which I hope folks are aware has been open since October 1. Same priority deadline this year of March 2nd. So, we're kind of in the middle of the financial aid season right now. And so, through this space, we really want to share with folks the kind of like the financial aid landscape right now for undocumented and mixed status students, right? Share some numbers we're seeing from the field. And really, we'll be focusing on giving you all some outreach best practices to help inform undocumented students and families, and also strategies to support those who are applying for the California Dream Act. I think I saw that maybe we have a few students in the room, or at least one student. So welcome to you all for joining us. But do want to say that it is mostly going to be like a practitioner space, right? We're speaking to practitioners from California. And also, if you're joining us from another state, welcome to. Hope you can take some of our strategies to your work in your state as well. And so keep introducing yourself if you have not had a chance to do that in the chat, but we're going to jump into a check-in pretty soon and then do a quick overview of just what are some strategies that we can use to increase access to the California Dream Act application, We have an amazing panel of three undocumented student champions for you all to hear from today on what they're doing on their campus and organization. And then we will allow folks some time to also connect with each other in some breakout rooms before we close this space. As folks can tell, we are recording the session and the slides and all of the links, materials will be shared with people who registered for the session. So look out for like a follow-up email around that. And then before we jump in to our check-in, I do want to make a quick shout out to Estefania E. from CSU San Bernardino, who actually won a raffle last month. So anybody who completes an evaluation and enters their contact information will be entered into a raffle to win a $25 virtual gift card. So really encourage folks to kind of stick around to the end to do that evaluation with us. And so with that, I'm going to jump it back to Ugo to do the check-in for us.
Great. Thank you so much, Madeline. So once again, welcome, folks. Please continue to introduce yourselves in the chat. Tell us your name and where you're joining us from, what college you are from as well. Yes, so our check-in question for this morning, if folks could use the Slido link on the screen and just share what practices are you using to navigate this financial aid season with your undocumented students? I'll read off that question again. Check-in question. What practices are you using to navigate this financial aid season with your undocumented students? Once again, the QR code is on the screen there. We should be able to drop well, actually the link is the code is on the screen as well. So folks can use a Slido link to share. Um, and let's see, let's take a look at some of the responses. One second. Here they are. So, okay, we're seeing some responses coming in, community college counselors, collaboration with other agencies, California Dream Act info sessions. That's great. Publishing California Dream Act info and resources on the school website, one-on-one financial aid meetings, having a designated California Dream Act expert, and then a shout out to us, Immigrants Rising, as a resource as well. That's great. Leveraging community cultural wealth, trying to be transparent, honest during workshops. That's a huge deal, right? As well. Collaborating with other practitioners to learn best practices. Once again, one-on-one virtual check-ins and financial aid workshops. California Dream Act sessions, getting support from or to the Dream Center, collaboration with community college undocumented student center services. Yeah, a lot of great work being done. We know there are a lot of challenges these days with getting this information out to students, but we see that folks are using a lot of resources and a lot of creativity, ensuring students their info is safe because they are feeling fear right now. Cash for College financial aid workshops, sharing financial aid resources for California Dream Act, using inclusive language during guidance lessons, financial aid application, and just FAFSA sharing. Once again, shout out to Immigrants Rising and another immigrant-friendly scholarship database connecting students to Dream Centers. San Jose State Spartan Partners. Uh, Community College Financial Aid Office, CSAC resources, and all the other resources offered through the best practices webinars. Yeah. So shout out to our best practices and promising practices webinars as well. I'm assuming that's us. Uh, for the sake of our plug, I'll assume that's also a plugin for us. Yeah, great. Great. Keep sharing. If folks have other things to add for the check-in question. Um, would anyone be willing to just share out if you would like to just just briefly unmute yourself and just share out a little bit of more about your strategy and your practices um, to reaching students. Would anyone be willing to just unmute yourself and share? If not, that's okay. But last chance.
Can folks hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Melody.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for hosting this space. I do have a student coming in, so I might have to drop early, but we have a designated California Dream Mic expert. Want to shout her out. Um, she's here too on the call, and just having a person that is we can refer our students to with specific questions, especially about their parents' information and checking their application before it's turned in, and also planning with her to host workshops where students can come in, especially in January, where things slow down a little bit, has been very helpful to us.
Great, great. Thank you for sharing that, Melody. Yes, definitely being in contact with the parents and also making sure to create the space for students, especially as the new year comes, starts, right? Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, Melody. If anyone else would like to share out, you would like to unmute yourself and just briefly share, we're gonna give another opportunity. We see that Julissa Loza would like to share. Go ahead. You may unmute yourself, Julissa.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for this platform and for the resources. So what I do is I help students with Cash for College workshops. And in these workshops, we make sure that the language is financial aid. So not FAFSA, but keeping it financial aid orientated. In addition, in these workshops, I also tell people, yo hablo español. Just that small little comment opens up to especially our undocumented students and our parents who are thinking of going back to college, because now they feel comfortable that there's someone that's speaking their language. And lastly, I tell counselors, even if you're not a Spanish speaker, try your best to include your Spanish coworkers. Do your best to include your Spanish coworkers so that they also are able to come volunteer, be a translator, but be that safe space for different families. So that's some of the best practices we have in our region.
Great. Awesome. Thank you so much, Julissa, as well for sharing. So definitely language access is a big piece. We know we have a huge population of Spanish speaker students, right? But we also have other languages. So yeah, being mindful of other languages that folks that can make things accessible for folks, especially the parents, but also many students in some cases. And also the distinction that you made, Julissa, between FAFSA and just financial aid, right? Key distinction with a lot of implications there that could cause fear among parents and mixed status families. So great. Thank you for sharing that, Julissa. Great. Um, we have maybe a couple minutes if anyone else would like to share. If not, we can move to the next part. Yeah, I'll pass it on to you, Madeline.
Thank you, Ugo, and thank you to the folks who shared. I think that's some really love to hear a lot of what folks are doing, right, and kind of creating that inclusive environment for undocumented students and our financial aid support systems, and also like a dedicated space for them, right? I think a combination of both is really what we're seeing has been helpful in increasing access and increasing like understanding of the California Dream Act. And so before we jump into our panel for today, we do want to kind of get some of those strategies share out to you all with some helpful resources we have here at Immigrants Rising. But before that, I think I really want to ground us in what the numbers are looking like for the California Dream Act right now, too. As we kind of see here in the chart, it has been on the decline for undocumented student applicants ever since it was kind of first introduced about 10 years ago, with last year unfortunately being like a record low, right, for undocumented student applicants for CADAA. Not surprising, right, with everything the community has been going through and just all the uncertainty that folks are facing right now. Um, it's not as evident here in the chart, but there has also been like a drop in undocumented student enrollment, right, in college. But we're still seeing that only about half of eligible or of undocumented students are actually applying to pursue the California Dream Act. This year is kind of again off to a slow start, right? As of last year, according to the California Student Aid Commission, only about 935 CADAs have been submitted. 116 of these are from mixed status families, so about 120 are from undocumented students, right? And we know that there's been a lot kind of hitting the community. And yeah, just like a lot of kind of like questions, right? Um, for um, for undocumented students and families right now. And so I really share these numbers to, I think, like kind of give us, I think there's always been an alarm when it comes to undocumented student access in our institutions, but to just ground us in that and really call us all in to work together to like reverse this trend, right? And to kind of be that beacon of hope that there is still ways to pursue education here in California for undocumented students and their supporters and support systems like yourself in the call who can help them do that, right? And so, really want to, I think a lot of the space we've made here in today's Zoom room is to kind of share those individual best practices, those collective best practices, those institutional best practices, so that undocumented students and other students from immigrant families, right, are still continuing to understand and pursue those financial aid opportunities that's available for them. And so I think part of that really starts with what folks have already shared in the check-in, right? Is to making sure that all students, all educators really, and families like understand the available financial aid options here in California. And that does include the CADAA, right? We have a really great resource here at Immigrants Rising that breaks down who is eligible for either application um, and uh, and want to also shout out that that CADAA is again open for mixed status house students from mixed status households this year, in case they would like other options, right? If besides FAFSA, if there's some concerns with completing that application for them. AB 540 also is a very critical component of financial aid for undocumented students. And so how do we make sure that we are also supporting students in navigating that? Since I think about last year or 2 years ago, the AB 540 affidavit is actually now part of the California DREAM Act application. So students no longer have to submit separate paperwork for it. They'll answer all of that in the CADAA, and then that information is actually shared over to the schools they've listed on their application, right? Once they've submitted the application. Depending on the institution, some students may still be asked to provide things like transcripts, right, to show that they've met the AB 540 requirements. And normally there's communications from schools around that, but I think as folks who are maybe helping students who are applying to new schools, who are going to college for the first time or transferring to new institutions, it's always a good reminder to let them know about AB 540, to let them know there may be additional transcripts required so that they are coded properly in their new institution, and then they get their financial aid on time when it comes to the fall. It's still possible to submit a paper affidavit if students are also not submitting CADAA, and we actually have a resource that goes over the different ways that the affidavit can be submitted at our public institutions here in California. I think folks have touched upon this on the different check-in too, right? Like empowering students with information to be able to figure out what's the best like financial aid and college options for them is a really critical role that individuals can play in our current landscape. And so shout out to our partners over at First Gen Empower, who's created this guide that has different language, talking points, tips on how to navigate these conversations with undocumented and mixed status students. They have it has a lot of great resource, but I think two sections I specifically want to uplift here is there's a section that lists all the different benefits of higher education for undocumented students, which I think is a critical part of messaging right now on why students should even be thinking about financial aid, right? I know it's a difficult time, but something I always uplift for undocumented students is regardless of your immigration status, right? All your education and all the benefits you get from your education cannot be taken away. And it can actually open up different opportunities for you, either here in this country or beyond, right? Regardless of your immigration status. So how do we also uplift that for our communities right now? And there's also a really great section here as well for folks working with mixed status students with questions on how to assess risk when submitting FAFSA, and what's kind of, how do we help students kind of make the best decisions for themselves when it comes to either looking at FAFSA or the California Dream Act. And then I think I saw a lot of these right in the check-in. Lots of resources have been shared out there, so I want to just call out a few here as well, including our step-by-step guide to apply to DREAMAC and make sure GPA is verified to be considered for Cal grants. These are available in English and Spanish for folks who are working with those different populations. And we do really want to uplift protections as well. We have this great reel from one of our from a previous undocumented student to talk a little bit more about the protections and also help students and families understand that. And I think I also heard somebody here talk quickly about making sure parents are involved, right? To inform parents as well. And so want to actually uplift this resource from Go Public Schools. It's a very robust like financial aid guide for parents that talks about, that has a great section on California Dream Act, AB 540, and what undocumented families should know when it comes to financial aid options. And then lastly, I do want to kind of like kind of highlight a little bit AB 469, which I think is a great opportunity for high schools and college access organizations to build that inclusive financial aid support system and environment for their students at their institutions. So AB 469 passed a few years ago, and it requires all high school seniors to apply for financial aid, to apply to a financial aid application, or they can opt out, right? I think this kind of passed right before the pandemic and actually really lifted up financial aid numbers across the state. But then the pandemic happened, right? And folks had to rebuild a little bit more around that. But I think this law can really, can really help folks think about how to create an inclusive environment that includes undocumented students. I know Jalissa gave a lot of different examples around that, including like using the inclusive language, right? Making sure we always say FAFSA and DREAM, doing financial aid nights versus FAFSA nights, for example, demystifying what opting out means, because students may opt out, but then they can always apply for financial aid later. They can receive resources now, right, to help them understand their options. And then a lot of great examples on those inclusive events and resources, including materials from our different community colleges that uplifts both FAFSA and CADAA and normalizes both applications for all students. And that is also a guide that we have here. Again, all of these will be kind of shared after to all registrants, so folks can kind of take some time looking through all of these different resources. And I think with that, gave a lot of different kind of individual resources. And so want to pass it back along to Ugo to welcome our panelists and hear from them on what are some of their group, collective, and institutional efforts for increasing access to Dream Act.
Thank you, Madeline. Yes, so here we are. It's time for our Promising Practices panel, and we have three amazing guests, practitioners, folks that are on the ground, and they're here to share. So I'd like to welcome you, Dr. Connie, Dr. Norma, Julissa, to the panel. What I'll do is I'll open up with a question, and I'll just ask each of you to just introduce yourself briefly, say your name, position, and your campus organization. And the first question, I'm gonna ask Dr. Norma to share on this, but then the whole panel will get a chance to share on this same introductory question as well. So the question is, could you describe the financial aid support that you provide to undocumented students and families applying to the California Dream Act? And what role do you play in that support? Dr. Norma, would you like to go first?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Dr. Norma Salcedo, and my pronunciation. Sorry, I think someone needs to unmute or mute.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, yeah, Jen and.
Um, Thank you. Hi, I am Dr. Norma Salcedo. My pronunciation is hers, Aya, and I'm the director of the Dream Success Center here at Cal State Long Beach. And we are very fortunate to have an amazing partnership with our financial aid office. We have two liaisons, and they recently hired an outreach educator that's going to be focusing on outreach, which I'm really excited. And then that individual will be the official liaison that would be part of our advisory board. So how we work together is we meet regularly. Even though we have the three liaisons, I work directly with their supervisor for any high level initiatives. And then the liaisons help us with the support, the student level support, and navigating like what's going on, like what are the students experiencing. And having the advisory board has really helped because what sometimes happens is that financial aid practices impact admissions, impacts registrars. So having an advisory board where all of them are in the same room really has helped create different initiatives. And I mean, we could talk more about it later, but I think that my role has been really in bringing people together. I love collaboration. We could not do this work without collaborating. And I've been doing this work for so long that I've been able to understand a lot of the financial aid processes. So as we are navigating challenges, we are thought partners in that. And then we support with the education. So not only are we advertising the California Dream Mag workshops and FAFSA workshops, we're also working with basic needs because our basic needs department is supporting students financially in different ways. And it's important that we're also helping students figure out ways that they can find funding in other ways. So this year we're launching different workshops together. So it'll be basic needs financial aid in ourselves and hosting them across the university. And then I also make sure that if there's any marketing done around financial aid, I work with financial aid to make sure that the California Dream Act is always included. And I don't think I have to remind them. I think they already know, but that's a key thing that I help with a lot in navigating like the marketing in different ways. Our students are also amazing at creating videos and viral stuff that is going on to encourage folks to submit the California Dream Act. And another thing that we notice is that we're seeing a lot of issues with high school students coming in and not filling out the proper application or not knowing that they had to fill out the application. Our transfer students tend to be very good. It's just our high school students that we're having that we're struggling with. So we were able to identify our feeder schools, and now we train our student leaders to do presentations at their high school. They're not doing financial aid presentations. What they're doing is just like sharing, hey, there is a financial aid application available for you. This is what it is. And that has helped in creating that synergy between the high schools in our area and our institution. There's still room for growth, but I think that those are some minor ways that we're helping. And I'll pass it over to Hugo. Yeah.
Great, great. Thank you, Dr. Salcedo. Great. Yeah, Dr. Connie or Julissa, I leave it open to you. I'll read the question again to get us started. The intro question is, if you could describe the financial aid support um, that you provide to undocumented students and families applying to the California Dream Act, and what role do you play in that support? Would anyone like to go first? Dr. Moreno, maybe?
Sure. Yes. Hi, everyone. Dr. Connie Moreno Yamashiro, use she, her pronouns. I serve as the director of our CADAA Cultural Center, our Grads to Be program supporting undocumented and mixed status students, our LGBTQI2 Spirit Plus resource program, and our Moja community program at Fullerton College. So thank you for having me. Happy to be here. And, it's so interesting that the question is, what do you do to support? And for me, it's always a team effort. So it's like, what are we doing to support? So the team does phenomenal work in doing many collaborations. So, they are meeting with students one-on-one in appointments. We collaborate heavily with financial aid, and that wasn't the case when I first began. And so part of, one way that I support is that building those bridges, those partnerships, those positive collaborations with financial aid, because we can't do the work that we're trying to do without our financial aid partners. And so when we create marketing together. So it's like they'll draft it or we'll draft it, and then we share it, and then we provide feedback to each other. So we're doing it collectively, even on the marketing level. Like not one area is just doing it solely and like hope it's correct and accurate and reflective of what we want. Like we are really braiding our resources and support together. So it's not like them doing it, us doing it. It's like, no, we are doing this together. And, our team is really active on social media as well. We have a program website. And then as of the beginning of this year, we have what's called a cultural hub website. Just given everything with the new presidential administration, we have an undoc website that includes things that are related to CADAA and FAFSA, Know Your Rights, different resources and information. So it's become the hub. So we have a program website, and then we have this hub website as well, because we also know not all of our students who identify are part of our program. So we don't want there to be like gaps or missed opportunities. So they can hopefully find us in one of many ways. And I think that's the beauty, is that what we're doing to support students isn't just one way is like fits all. We have to do different approaches and strategies to support our students, because not everyone's the same. So again, I really serve as that bridge, that liaison, and our team is really on the ground doing the work. And as I mentioned, I support 4 different programs. So it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of important work. So I'm here to remove barriers, institutional barriers, build partnerships, build collaborations. So I'm supporting my team, and I'm ultimately supporting our students at the end of the day to the best of my ability.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Dr. Moreno Yamashiro. So I'm with Madeline on this. I'm hearing this theme of team collaboration, great collaboration, but also great use of technology. So great. Thank you both for sharing. And last but not least, Julissa, would you like to address the introductory question?
Yeah, of course. Thank you. So good morning, everyone. My name is Julissa Vargas. I am a success fellow at 10,000 Degrees, which we're a Bay Area nonprofit organization. We basically focus on like educational equity, supporting our students from low-income backgrounds. We provide scholarships, which is super cool that we're not only doing the work in high schools, but we're also following them, throughout their journey. In college, higher education, we're now starting to really support them as alumni, making sure that they're getting the support after they graduate as well. So I'm part of an amazing program team. We support over 4,000 college students, and we do a lot of hands-on support. My job doesn't end the moment that they hit submit to the CADAA application. If anything, it just begins. We're walking with them through like web for grants, verification, something that we have definitely seen increase in these past years, and then really making sure that we maximize that financial aid package. Funny enough, I was hosting office hours at Berkeley City College, and one of my other students was introducing me to one of their friends, and they're like, if you want to make sure that you get your money for financial aid, go to Julissa, like she'll help you. So essentially, that's my role, making sure that they're maximizing the resources, going to the basic needs resources, going to the undocumented center, basically taking advantage of everything that's in campus that's really there to support them.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Julissa. Yes, all very important points. Uh, I keep hearing this theme of just casting a wider net as well, right? And making sure the resources are accessible to folks. Great. Thank you all. The next question will be, let's start with maybe Dr. Moreno Yamashiro. If you could talk about what on the ground outreach strategies, like workshops, peer mentors, classroom presentations, partnerships, etc., have been most effective in improving the California DreamAct completion rates at your campus?
Yeah, thank you. So again, I think there's many ways we do so. One of the big efforts that our team has been doing is that we actually have a lot of fellows via DSIG, via what we call our Monarch Fellows that we modeled out of DSIG. And so half the team are now student volunteers who get compensated. So having students share with other students like, hey, it's time to apply. This is how you do it. Like I just went through it, I just finished mine. Like those things are really helpful, getting that peer-to-peer support. We don't have peer mentors, but we have, again, a lot of student volunteers who get compensated to do this important professional development that they're doing for our students in our campus. And as I mentioned, we collaborate heavily with financial aid. So we do open labs, so CADAA and FAFSA open labs, and we often put it in that order, that CADA's first and then FAFSA. And so we do in-person and online labs, in essence, where students are literally applying on the spot with a financial aid advisor and representatives from our team in that same lab. So again, we're braiding that support, we're braiding those resources. And then we also have a financial aid liaison. We have two financial aid liaisons, and that's a new model that we established this academic year. So it's rather new. I'm so really proud of that model because we now have go-to folks in financial aid that we could refer students to that maybe have unique nuances to their situation, and rather than going to the front desk of the financial aid office, right? Like we have our two folks we could go to. So that has been really helpful for us. And then financial aid has been implementing these financial aid Fridays that they host. So every Friday they host financial aid workshops. And, again, in our collaborations, we ensure that there's CADAA application and then updates that are happening because things are also changing. So there's some workshops related to those as well. And then we developed, I would say somewhat recently, a flyer that has like, this is what FAFSA is, and here are all the funding opportunities you have. And this is what CADA is, and here are all the funding opportunities you have. And this is actually where it overlaps. Regardless of what application you submit, these are the opportunities that you'll have. And so again, it's this theme of empowering students and family members and loved ones with information, and we want students to make the best decision that's right for them. We do know some colleges have taken an approach like do this, do that. But again, we don't want to force students to make a decision that we think is best for them. We want to empower them with the information and tools and the resources so they can make the best decision for them. So that flyer is really helpful and is across all of our platforms and everything else like that. So those are some examples. And because of that flyer, we're really highlighting DSIG as an opportunity. If you apply for CADA and you receive grants, you might be eligible for DSIG. And I imagine most folks, if not everybody, knows DSIG, but in essence, you volunteer and you get compensated. That's what everybody wants, right? And our students who are undocumented or mixed status often do not get compensated for volunteering to do great work. So we have been hyping DSIG up. We have our own Fullerton College DSIG website that lists all of the volunteer opportunities, what you will do, and hey, you will be compensated. And then we get departments and programs on our campus to say I'll host a DSIG volunteer because it comes to you like free 99. Like you don't have to pay for anything. Like, you know what I mean? So we're really trying to see what are things that are important to students and how do we highlight that as hey, this could be an opportunity if you apply for CADA. Again, not that you will guarantee that you will get this, but it is one of many opportunities for students, again, to be compensated and volunteer and get professional development opportunity. So I think that's a highlight of those.
Great. Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Mano Yamashiro. I can't even begin to tell you how instrumental fellowships were to me personally when I was in my undergrad journey, and also obviously the Dream Center. But yes, thank you so much. Yeah. Um, we could go to Julissa next. And Julissa, if you would share about how do you talk with students and families about data privacy and protection in a way that reduces fear, but also clarifies what information is and what information is not shared through the California Dream Act.
Thank you. So I think personally for me, I think the biggest thing that we can give our students is honesty and just holding a space for them, especially during these times. It's not letting them shy away from sharing their documentation status and just for them to bring those concerns about privacy, giving them that space to come and have someone to really have that conversation with. And I think it's important to also have that one-on-one space, not just plastering it on a presentation and being like, your information is not going to be shared, but to make it personal to them. And what I do is I really begin by informing them, what are the differences between the CADAA application and the FAFSA application? And we shouldn't expect students to know this, especially our high school students. How are they going to know from the top of their heads? CADAA is a state application. So really breaking it down for them and letting them know, this was an initiative that was created by the state of California to be able to help our undocumented students. And not only that, they're really helping us by helping our mixed status families access now that application. So it's just a great way to inform them, one, and prepare them that once they're in college, they have this information with them. Something else that I do is that I'll help them navigate to the CSAC website and be like, okay, look at that memo. There's a big memo plastered on there that says that the information is not going to be shared to federal agents and it's not going to be used for immigration enforcement. And that kind of helps them, relax a little bit, take a deep breath. And I'm really just highlighting that CSAC is one of our allies, showing them not only are they getting a Cal Grant, but CSAC is taking proactive steps to really be there for them. Something else that I do is that if a student decides not to apply to CADAA, I'm covering options with them. What options are there for you to pay for college if you're not going to be doing Cal Grant? Let's talk about scholarships. Let's do your 10,000 degree scholarship, and let's really look for other grants that you can apply to. But it's always best to lead with honesty and just being honest that, hey, this may be your best option when paying for college. And then at the end of the day, they're there. CSAC is here to support us.
Great. Thank you so much. Yes, Yulisa, excuse me. Yeah, a lot of great points, a lot of great strategies. Now, Dr. Salcedo, um, if you could share a little bit about what practices have helped you effectively reach students who do not regularly engage with email, workshops, or other traditional advising channels.
I think social media has been, our students get really excited about it. They've done a great job at being engaged there and answering questions for students there. And we don't have a direct line to our students. We don't have emails. We don't have a list. So we've had to be creative since day one in reaching our students, whether it be collaborating with different campus partners, getting our name out there through advertisements on campus. We have like TV screens all over the university. So I encourage financial aid to do a marketing plan that's university-wide that markets both FAFSA and the California Dream Act as well. When financial aid, I know you mentioned outside of email, but I think what has been really helpful for us is that when financial aid sends mass emails to everyone, they always add us as like a resource. Like, hey, if you have questions about DSIG, for example, we run the DSIG program here on our campus. Financial aid does the financial aid part of it, but we run the marketing, we run the outreach, and we do that in partnership with financial aid. So we assist in those ways. Right now, we're brainstorming how can we let students know about DSIG because we don't have a list of students. So we're looking at including items in their financial aid student center so that when they like log in, they can see an item there that says, hey, like we're still figuring out the logistics, but like where they see their holds, but it won't be a hold that says, hey, you may be eligible for DSIG. Click here for more information. Because we're trying to advertise. Right now, we're pushing DSIG a lot because we have a lot of students who are not taking advantage of it. And for the California Dream Act and FAFSA, we're doing a lot of collaboration of both because we're seeing an increase of students in mixed status families coming through our doors and asking us information about it because they're worried about the information that they're putting in. And I agree with Julissa about being honest because a lot of them want us to tell them that they'll be safe. And unfortunately, that's something that we cannot guarantee. We cannot guarantee safety outside of what we can control. So that's been really hard. So those one-on-one conversations outside of, because emails sometimes are not and not as meaningful as like a meeting, like a face-to-face meeting. So we really focus on those like one-on-one conversations and making sure that we hold space for the student. And when we're telling them like, I'm sorry, I can't protect your family's information because I have no control of what the federal government is going to do with that. So that's been the hardest, and I think with marketing and sharing videos, and we share Immigrants Rising videos, we share videos that other organizations have posted. I know CSAC does a great job too at posting videos and information in different languages, and we post that as well. So yeah, I think it's a lot of outreach and making sure that we are physically in different spaces, introducing ourselves. We're doing classroom presentations. We do we do a lot of tabling, and I agree with Connie, like the DSIG program has been life-changing because I'm a big proponent, even when I didn't have the funding that I have now, where I do not believe in free labor, and all my students got compensated in either credit for classes or money. And every student that works in our that is part of our office has some sort of financial a grant or of some sort, or through a fellowship or DSIG. So we utilize them as those face-to-face individuals, like Connie shared, telling the students, hey, this is what's happening, this is what is available to you. So a little bit of everything, and we're always looking for ideas. So always looking to for our thought partners to share what they're doing to figure out how to continue doing our work.
Great. Amazing. Thank you, Dr. Salcedo. And yes, this is a great space for thought partners to share and to come together with best practices and stuff. I want to go back to Julissa because I know you have some stuff to share. And so if you could also speak to what language, resources, or communication strategies help you explain financial aid access in a way that builds undocumented student confidence and reduces overwhelm.
Thank you. So I'm very lucky to be part of an organization. We provide trainers on how to best support our students, and I've been able to get so many amazing practices and resources from these trainings. Something that I learned is that we have to be creative in the ways that we reach out to our students. One, our students are coming from really diverse backgrounds. Not all of our students are Spanish speakers. They're coming in with different experiences. So I'm huge on finding ways to accommodate them, like translation, being able to help them with technology use, even showing them, a lot of my students are like, I don't know how to use Zoom. By the end of our meeting, they're like sharing screen, coming off mute, just being really comfortable using technology. And then also inviting families to be part of the conversation to kind of help ease that anxiety. Not only is it about accommodations, but it's also about, how do you create a plan for them? I basically learned this my first year, and it's a very impactful story that really stayed with me. That one time when I was putting a student out to do the CADAA application, the student came to me and she's like, why do I have to fill out the CADAA application? Like, I don't even have a work permit. She was also a teen mom, so she was very, she expressed to me like, I do want to go to college, I do want to be able to help my son get better opportunities, but why am I going to put myself through doing a CADA application, signing up for college, and at the end we're not going to be able to work? I'm not going to be able to work in the field that I'm going to be studying for. So that moment, it taught me like financial aid access is not just about accommodations and helping them at the moment, but it's also about the long-term plan. With the student, we were able to complete all of her enrollment process. We were able to submit that CADA application. We connected her with Find Your Ally. And then fast forward a year, I meet with her again when she's in college, and she was like, Julissa, I was able to get my work permit. Now I'm in the process to get my residency. So it was a moment that stuck with me, that it was like, okay, I can do something at the moment and really help them with like technology, language, but what am I doing to also long-term prepare and make sure that the financial aid access is really, at the end of the day, really helping them. So definitely promote Find Your Ally. I love them. I'm a big believer in them.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Julissa, for uplifting as well the fact that these resources change lives, right? They actually change lives. So, and they have the potential, and in many cases, they have done it. I can speak for myself. It changed some of these resources, a lot of these resources have changed my life. I want to go back to Dr. Moreno Yamashiro. And Dr. Moreno Yamashiro, if you could share on what strategies you have found most effective in building trust with students and with families who may be hesitant to share personal information. We already kind of touched on it a little bit, but if you could just expand a little bit more. They may be hesitant to share personal information on the California Dream Act, concerns for safety and that. If you could share about that.
Yeah, I think it's really just being honest and really transparent. I always say, like, I don't want people to tell me what they think I want to hear. I want them to like tell me the real deal. And so, like, just as I want that same like perspective, I want to give that to other people too. So I think it's important for to share, like, here are the pros and here are the cons. Here are the pros for this application, here are the cons. Like, and again, you're making the decision, like I wish I could say things are 100% protected, but they're not. There are laws, there's, FERPA, there's, lots of different things that help protect our students here, like once the information's here. But beyond that, like we also don't have control of everything. There's some things we have control. There's laws that we can lean on, and I always lean on laws, policies, etc. But that doesn't always cover us 100% of the time. So again, just being really honest and transparent about that. And I think at the end of the day, probably the number one concern that our undocumented mixed status and immigration impacted students have is like they don't have money. And so like they also have to decide, are they taking a risk? Maybe are some risks maybe a little more than others, maybe. But if at the end of the day, if the number one concern is like, I don't have enough money to go to college and there is a means to do so, and we have protections to the best of our ability, that might be the best option. I think everything in life has some form of risk, right? And I think that's just that is true. Are there more risk in this? Yes, probably. And that's again why my team, we're not the ones to make that decision. It is on the individual students and their family to make that decision on what they feel is best, what they are most comfortable doing. And we can just provide them the pros and the cons of each and kind of also echo, like, we also hear financial aid is the number one concern. You could have access to some aid, So I think just being honest with that. I go back to DSIG. We love DSIG here at our campus, and we love our Monarch Fellows. That it's modeled after DSIG. So we have many DSIGs that we support and fellows that we support across the college, not just in our department. And so, again, that is an avenue to get to paid fellowships or paid compensations, paid volunteer opportunities that are really professional development. And then the other one is that we started doing an undocu conference for our campus. So this coming year will be our third annual. So our first one was in person, and the Undocu conference is for current and prospective students. And we have breakout rooms. We have breakout rooms in English. We have breakout rooms in Spanish. Again, just trying to meet students where they're at. We do know students speak more than those two languages, but those are for our campus the top two, like overwhelming majority. So with our capacity and our means, we have that. The NACI conference that concurrently happens in English and Spanish. So again, first year was in person. The second year was all on Zoom. And this coming year will also be on Zoom. So just with the times, we felt that folks are more comfortable that way. They're not really wanting as much to come in person for a conference that is intended for our undocumented community, and we understand. And we also have protective measures even from the virtual format. So our team has done many protective measures to ensure the utmost privacy and protection for any folks who are attending our undocumented conference that our program hosts for our college. So again, for current students and prospective students. So those are a few examples.
Great, great. I love that. I love that theme across the board here on our panel of leading with honesty, providing the resource, and giving folks the agency to make their own decisions. I love that. Thank you all for sharing. I have one final question for the whole panel and to close us out. And so, in 30 seconds, if you could please share, what is your advice for practitioners this financial aid season? And whoever would like to lead us off, 30 seconds. I'll repeat it again. What is your advice for practitioners this financial aid season? Dr. Moreno
Yeah, I'll
Yamashiro,
go.
you look
I was like, I'll
ready.
go.
You look ready.
I was
Yeah.
like, I'll go. So, don't time me, but 30 seconds. I say be proactive, right? We don't have to wait closer to the application. We know folks wait closer to the priority deadline. We don't have to. If you don't have a plan yet for this financial aid season, develop a plan. Right now is the perfect time to develop a plan. We have enough time to still execute a plan. So I definitely encourage to have a plan. So we're messaging students in a variety of ways. Again, there is no one way that works for all students. So we have to have different strategies in order to do so. So I love a plan. I'm a planner. That's my thing. That's not everyone's thing, and that's also okay. You could still have the same outcomes and not be a super planner like I am. And I think the other part is you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Right. We're hearing lots of best practices today. We're hearing a lot of themes today. We're hearing a lot of great websites and resources. Immigrants Rising is like, we do not have to reinvent the wheel. The wheel has been developed for us. We just need to use those tools and resources that are out there and share them out as widely as possible. So we don't feel that labor or work on us that oftentimes our spaces feel already. So it's like we have great partners like Immigrants Rising and so many additional folks who have done the hard labor and work for us. So, and again, if folks aren't collaborating and communicating with their financial aid. I know that's a spectrum across various colleges. Some have very good, some have okay, and some maybe don't have, they're building, that trust and that rapport. That is really key. And for us, that has been really essential to take our support for students to the next level. And so, really nurturing that partnership and that collaboration. So, again, we are braiding our support for our students. Might have been more than 30 seconds, but thank you.
Just a bit more. No worries. Thank you so much, Dr. Moreno Yamashiro. Julissa or Dr. Salcedo, advice for practitioners to close us out.
Awesome. So I think, like you mentioned, Hugo, leading with honesty and kindness is going to be a big part of this, really preparing ourselves to have these difficult conversations. It's better that we already have the resources ready for students when they're like, hey, Julissa, I need immigration services. I need basic needs. I need to talk to the undocumented center. Like, really be there to support students and prepare yourselves and also pour into your own cup. I know sometimes it's difficult to have these conversations with students, but just make it a point to also care for yourself and care for your students. And the unfortunate reality is that some of our students are having to step up and be the head of the household, take on responsibilities that not many other students are having to take on. So just be there, support them along the way, show them like, hey, someone cares. Make sure that they don't get lost. If you have to, make those phone calls and be like, hey, how are you doing? Do you need support? Sometimes they're going to be busy. You just have to make sure you're persistent and you're there and that they can see you. Even if it's just a message, if it's a phone call, anything helps because from what I heard from my students, they see everything that we do, every outreach, every call that we make. So just basically showing that we care and that we're there for them.
Awesome. Love that. Thank you so much, Julissa. And Dr. Salcedo?
I ditto everything that everyone said. I think I would just add that ask your students what would help them. Like, what would be a good idea to market to them? Like, they're the experts. I love talking to them and asking, like, hey, what video do you think would reach students? Or, if we send an email, would you read it? Or, hey, look, I have this, or can you help me? And they love being involved in the process, especially when they create those ideas and they see it play out. So I would say utilize your students and ask them, have them guide the work that you're doing. Because sometimes you may think like, okay, we got to do X, Y, and Z. And maybe you only got to do X and that's enough to reach the students. So yeah, I would, take care of yourselves. And I reiterating the do not reinvent the wheel. Like, there's a lot happening in this world, and we should not be working more than what we need to. So work smarter, not harder.
Love that. Amazing. Thank you also for sharing that, Dr. Salcedo. And thank you all. This concludes our panel portion of this PPR, Promising Practices Roundtable. Thank you, Dr. Salcedo, Dr. Moreno Yamashiro, and Julissa Vargas. Great panel, great points that were shared, great strategies. And I'll pass it back now to Madeline for our next portion.
Yeah, thank you, Ugo, and thank you to our amazing panelists who, yeah, I think I really heard kind of like leading with honesty, right? Really leaning on collaborations, on partnerships, and being ready with different resources, not reinventing the wheel, and just making sure that we are all kind of like making those one-on-one space for students too. So also encourage folks to kind of give any appreciations to panelists in any way that they can. But we do want to give folks to kind of give folks some time to also like think about, marinate on the different amazing things our panelists shared, and we'll actually be transitioning over to some quick breakout rooms to do that. And so hope folks are able to stick around. I know we're all doing a couple of different things while we're on Zoom, but we will be doing about like a 10-minute breakout room with folks to just think about what are some of the different challenges, opportunities around CADAA in your institution or community. What can you take back from this session, right? I wrote so many things. There's so many things I can take back. And what support would you like to see to support practitioners like yourself to moving forward? That will really help us inform some of our spaces. So Ugo will work on putting us on breakout rooms right now. Let me see if I can put the questions in the chat for us actually, and then we'll take some time to do that right now. But Ugo, let me know when you're ready to transition us. Also welcome our panelists to, we'll put you in a breakout room also so folks can connect with you further, but we'll go ahead and open that and we'll have about like 10 minutes for folks to do that as well.
Great. Opening them now.
Hopefully folks are able to join. Let us know if you're having any trouble.
Thank you all so much. Like Madeline said, we're looking forward to reviewing your suggestions and ideas, topics you would like to see covered in our upcoming Promising Practices roundtables for next year. And we have some resources to share with folks. Please continue to submit your evaluations, but we're going to flash some resources on the screen here. We're promoting the mental health connector from Immigrants Rising. So this is for students in California, and we lost the screen there, Madeline. But so I'll keep mentioning it. For students in California, it provides free confidential telehealth services to undocumented students in California. We'll share the link. We'll share all the resources shared today with folks as a follow-up email. And we'll share the link also to the Mental Health Connector as well. The application is open until all the slots are filled. So look out for that in the resources that we'll be sharing. And then, like I already mentioned, stay tuned for the schedule for our next next year's PPR. It should be available in the spring of 2006. And you're also able to catch up on previous sessions, materials and recordings by accessing our live document, which is available online. We'll be sharing that as well, content included in the resources that we'll be sharing with folks as a follow-up with the follow-up email. And lastly, we'd like to give a huge thanks to our panelists today and for also graciously sharing their contact info. So their contact info is on the screen. Don't worry about rushing to copy it because it's all going to be made available in the resources that we'll be sharing in the follow-up email that will be sent to all the attendees to today's Promising Practices Roundtable. But here they are. So a huge shout out to Dr. Norma Salcedo from Cal State Long Beach, Dr. Connie Moreno Yamashiro from Fullerton College, and to Julissa Vargas, who is a fellow at 10,000 Degrees. So thank you all so much for taking part in this Promising Practices Roundtable. Once again, my name is Hugo Lopez, and I'm with Immigrants Rising, and my colleague Madeline Villanueva. We were happy to have you here. We hope you enjoyed it, and thank you all for sharing all of the resources and strategies and best practices. Thank you all so much.
Thank you all. We'll see you at our next roundtables next year too. Look out for our email from that. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, folks.